hello, and welcome back to a very special festive episode of Podcast Assemble, the show where you come for your rambling, geeky download. My name's Tommy. I'm delighted, as always, to be joined by my friend and co-host from across the pond. It's our resident dubious cowboy of the pod, DL.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Motherfucker! How are you, mate?
I am good. I'm feeling very German after that.
Very German.
I want to I wish I could talk like that guy. What is his name?
Alan Rickman.
Is that what is that Alan Rickman? I didn't fucking realize.
Alan Rickman.
Oh my God, that is him.
How did you not realize this?
Because I only know him as Snape.
Not the guy from Love Actually,
Oh
not
my
all of his
God.
other roles.
I mean, no, he's Snape to me.
He is Snape.
To me.
Obviously. You should check out my new YouTube video on Podcast Assemble's YouTube channel, where I talk about whether Die Hard is or is not a Christmas movie.
Well,
and I bring up Alan Rickman a lot. We're going to be talking about it a lot today as well. I'm excited to talk about Die Hard. How are you, mate?
good, man. We are here talking about it at Christmas, so that's got to mean something.
Well, it is a festive episode.
That means something. How are you? How have you been?
Man, I'm good. I can't even tell you what I've been up to. There's been so much happening. Jonathan Majors got fired. Who would have guessed? And I'm heading back to the UK tomorrow. So we're just squeezing this in by the skin of our teeth, aren't we?
Are you? What do you have? Those like free
flights? That'd be nice.
Yeah, you wish. Pre-flight butterflies.
No,
You're
not at all.
You've downloaded your stuff. You've got.
That's tonight.
Do you have a book?
Yes, I do have a book. I have a book to read.
I
can't tell you what it's called.
Want me to just finish The Golden Sun, so you can just.
You can probably finish it today.
I will finish it tonight. I can drop it off.
If you can bring it by tomorrow morning, that'd be wonderful.
It's so good.
But no, I got to do all those things. I've got to download shit to my iPad. I've got to do the usual stuff you got to do. Like the partner's done all her packing. I've thrown stuff on a bed. That's about as far as I've got right now. But
sounds like you're behind.
I'm so excited to just have a break.
Same, dude.
And be away.
Same.
Not from our lovely listeners, though. We appreciate you guys a lot. What are you going to be doing for the next 3 weeks?
I actually have a pretty jam-packed calendar, dude. We've got
watching Aquaman 2.
Yeah, I was trying to get across to Tommy that I do not have time this holiday break to watch Aquaman 2.
And you have 4 weeks.
Do I have time ever?
Yeah,
so I'm actually booked out for the rest of my life.
What we need to know is whether it's better
activity.
or worse than Aquaman 2018.
It's worse. There we go. I'm done.
No, it's not. How do you know that?
Because I can see. I know. I have a feeling for these things.
We talked about last week on our end of year awards. To be quite frank with you,
said that it was going to be the most average.
What if it turns out that it's actually amazing,
dude? I'm not even. I deny your paradigm.
You don't come in with any
I deny your
enthusiasm.
hypothetical, dude. There's not a multiverse where it's good. The only multiverse where Aquaman 2 is good is when Vinny Chase got fired and it was Jake Gyllenhaal.
It was Jake Gyllenhaal.
That's the
with
only
his perfect
universe.
Hair. Oh, we didn't do that last week in our awards. The best hair of the year.
Yeah,
that's one we should do.
That's a good point.
Ryan Gosling has great hair in Barbie. Very blonde.
I would argue bad.
You think that's bad?
I mean, he's got good hair, but
I think in general he's got
too. I don't know why they bleached it. I don't think Ken was ever.
Because Ken. We talked about this when we did the episode.
It's not bleach blonde.
Go back and listen to our episode of Barbie.
He's already blonde.
Yeah, but he's so bleach blonde as a Ken doll.
I think it's just more they wanted to make a statement.
I think he's just copying the Ken doll, but we'll carry on with that.
Debatable.
Guys, if you want to jump around and not listen to us banter about our weeks, feel free. There will be time codes in the description, as always, supplied by editing master, Mr. Matthew Bliss. Stick around. We'll give you his details at the end of the show. And DL, I have a quick question for you before we get into it.
Yeah.
If you were going to give this podcast a festive Christmas present out of 5 stars, how many stars do you think you would give it as a gift?
As a gift. Well, I'm a giver.
You are a giver.
So 5. 5 out of 5.
Please give us a rating, guys. You can do it right there in app. It helps. We don't know how algorithms work. You probably know better than we do, but it really, really helps. DL, what have you been up to, buddy?
I personally have not been doing much other than the chaos of the close of our work business, but beyond that, I've snuck a couple things in. We've been watching Harry Potter for some reason. I think it's because I was like, it's leaving Netflix. I'm like,
oh, that's how they get you.
But I'm like, it's just going to go on to binge.
It's on binge. I'm thinking of getting rid of it. So binge over here, for anyone who doesn't know, in Australia is our kind of HBO Max.
You can't get rid of binge. It's all the HBO stuff.
When have you last watched binge in the last
I've watched
6
binge
months?
Recently. There was, what was it called?
Actually, House of the Dragon's on there.
House of the Dragon.
Damn it.
There was something else that I was
Damn it, Game of Thrones.
Binge is good. You just have to be ready to go get into a drama. You know, it's got Succession.
What with the UI? Because the UI is so
the
shit.
UI sucks.
I would fight that UI.
No, the UI sucks.
Yeah, it's the worst.
It is. It's like inexcusably bad.
It puts me off going in to use it. That's what's wrong with it.
Yeah, no, I that's when you know a UI is bad.
Yes.
Because like most of the time in this day and age, UIs are like passable.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
you're
fine.
not gonna, it's like, oh, this has been annoying, but whatever. This one's like fucking shockingly
Yeah.
bad.
As in it literally doesn't work.
Freezes, you like try and go back and it goes right.
Yeah.
Like it's like it's like
so
basic
dumb.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Literally the whole UI of it's broken. So that's what
um,
puts me off going in there to watch stuff on HBO.
yeah, but you've got me digress. I digress. Where
Harry Potter.
Yeah. But I keep falling asleep because it's like something about that movie, like it just like lulls me into peace and
I'm
quiet and
Alan
sleep.
Rickman.
It's not Snape. Definitely not Harry either. I think it's just the music.
We've recently watched, I think, the 5th one, and that's my least favorite of the movies.
I honestly can't really. We've rewatched them every year or like
Right.
every other year now with Gail, and I can't do it anymore.
Well-
I need the show to come out.
Yes, same.
I would be down for
Because
that.
we're with the pod, we've done the 3rd one, I think, last time.
Yes.
Did we do the 3rd one? That's my favorite one. And then
Yes.
personally been watching it back up to the 5th one. I'm like, I do not want to talk about this. It's so bad. Like everything about it, they ripped the heart and soul out of the book and just went, nah, it's all right.
Yeah, they fucked the 5th one up.
Yeah, big time.
The 4th one's good though.
It's one of my favorites, and people don't like it for some
The
reason.
movie?
Yeah.
I thought it was good.
I think it's the long emo hair they all have.
Well,
for
they
some
definitely
reason.
like it was like really
They
weird how their hair was. It was like
was
peak
so-
emo era. Is that why?
mid-2000s.
Yeah, it was like that era.
It totally was.
I
I did actually. Speaking of fun throwback movies, we watched a fun throwback movie this week. Actually, we watched the Pirates of the Caribbean first movie.
That's a great movie.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's one of my all-time favorites, and I'm
Second one's not bad either. It's not great.
I don't mind the second one.
It's pretty good.
It's got its like merits.
Yeah.
It's not as. I mean, it's never gonna
The
be.
first
as
one's
good.
iconic though.
My favorite thing about the whole movie, and it sort of leans into a YouTube little set of videos I'm currently working on, is like perfect character introductions. And the way Jack Sparrow is introduced.
Yes, iconic.
Absolutely
Doesn't he
iconic.
just like step off his sinking boat?
Yeah, he's literally like,
He's
you
like-
see him, he stood
Yeah.
on top of the mast, and you think, wow, that's epic. And then
Yeah.
it zooms out, and he's just like, the whole boat sunk except for
Yeah.
the top of the mast. It's literally perfect. In fact, that movie itself, I would say, is one of the best of that generation.
I can't believe he didn't win an Oscar for that.
No, neither.
Yeah, he is Jack Sparrow.
He's meant to be a bit of a bad bloke behind the scenes, though, so who knows? Maybe that
I mean, like
factored in.
I don't know, whatever. He is Jack Sparrow though. Like he
Yes,
literally
literally.
is him. He lives the life. Of
Like he
Jack
goes,
Sparrow.
he's actually a pirate. He hangs out with Somalians all the time. He goes into hospitals and stuff dressed as just Jack Sparrow. Like he takes time off set to just go and do that. That would be one I'd love to see a rebootuation of. That would be interesting.
Didn't they just do that?
I didn't think so.
I just think you can't really.
There's just too many of them.
There's so many, and they've all been like led by him, and I just don't think it'd be tough to like recreate. Like he's
The
the,
magic,
part of
yeah.
that. You know, he's pretty unique.
That performance is
Yeah.
so unique,
Yeah.
completely. And I think you got lightening the bottle a little bit with like Keira Knightley.
He did.
She was, she was like underage when she made that movie. She lied about her age to become like a star in a movie.
Good
How
for
inter-
her.
Yeah.
I do the same thing for a Disney movie.
Me too. They
Yeah.
probably paid her absolutely pennies at the
Yeah.
time, but now she's worth millions, so good for her.
And you'd get for that movie, you'd get the what do they call them? Just the reciprocals or whatever.
Yeah,
you'd
yeah,
get.
yeah.
You'd be
The
making
standard rate.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, fair
it's
play.
played a lot. Like
Yeah, it's like 50 grand, I think,
Yeah.
for being a first actor. Anyway, great movie. Had a great time with it.
Residuals is what I
would
meant.
certainly recommend going back and watching, or if you've never seen Pirates of the Caribbean, have you been living under a rock? I recommend you watch it immediately. What else have you been doing, buddy?
And then I've been reading the book you lent me.
Oh, of
Yeah.
course. So that's the
Golden
sequel
Sun, the sequel to The Red Rising.
that you've not shut up about
Every
for
pod.
6 weeks.
Every pod you'll hear where I'm at. in this series. It's at least 4 more books. So
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't realize
or
there were that
maybe
many.
maybe three.
Well, it's trilogies. You told me that one time.
Yeah,
so.
but there's another. It's like a
There's
seven.
another
It's a
trilogy.
6-book series.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's one of those like I don't know if it's a time jump or just they
So
changed.
talk to me. Completely
Yeah.
spoiler free. How do we feel about the second book? Because we said we left off Red Rising, good book, had some problems with pacing, had some problems with it being this dude's first attempt at writing a novel.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the second book?
I think it's definitely a bit more refined. I mean, it's not like his writing style doesn't change all that much, but
Okay.
it's not as like bludgeoned like
Okay.
short sentences all the time. It's still I think you might have a problem with it in the sense that like it still moves
Talk for me.
it still moves quickly at times.
Okay.
Like where you're like, holy shit, but I think that's kind of the style. It's like because the main character is like all about momentum, like,
Yes,
and
okay.
meteoric rise, like before I'm kind of caught, kind of thing.
Mm,
So there's definitely moments where you're like, fuck, they're speeding through stuff,
right.
but it's like exciting as it happens. The world, they definitely open up the world a lot more, so
Okay,
like
cool.
more stuff makes sense that way.
That's
but
good.
It's still also kind of expanding even as I'm about halfway through.
Because there's a lot of universe to explore, I suppose.
Yeah, but it's almost like Darrow, the main character, is discovering it as well, but also he knows a lot about it, about the stuff, so it's like confusing. But it's really good.
He did like a Matrix style download in the first book where he learned everything.
But it's like then why haven't you thought about this in the last? Sometimes I kind of like get. I'm like a little bit. I'm like, oh, you know this, but we just never. But it's mostly really. I think it's improved. It's a different setting.
Okay,
it's a different setting. It's way more.
Don't tell me. Okay, that's good. Don't tell me.
That's all.
I'm ready to jump back into it. I've got a couple of books to get through first before I get there, and hopefully I'll come back after the festive break and be able to tell you all about the book that I'm currently reading.
Awesome, man! I'll be done with the third one by then, so I can lend it to you.
Something Assassins. I'm reading. It's good so far. I just haven't had a chance to read it.
Something Assassins. You don't even know the name.
Dark Side.
It's very, very good.
Glass Throne, I think.
Untitled.
It's called. Glass Throne, I think it's called.
I've heard
Throne of Glass.
No, I've heard of Throne of Glass.
Yeah, it's good. Strong beginning. I think it's gonna get better. The last thing I've been up to this week, and I think you may have been too, is I finished the latest season of Rick and or Morty, which I really enjoyed.
The last one I saw, I forget. It was something with like the letters.
Oh, I liked that one.
That one was good. That was like an old school.
I think that's a penultimate episode. So I think you've only got one left. That's a good one. It had iced tea in it, right?
Yeah, it did. That was like one of the like an old school episode. It was kind of like not connected to anything.
Well, it's a harken back to an older episode.
Yeah,
right?
but it's not. It's one of those like kind of stands on its own.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And I think there are a good few episodes this season like that, and I really liked that they've gone that direction with a lot of it. So
then there was one that was like super canon-y.
Yeah, they did the one with like Evil Morty, quotation marks, whatever it was, trying to find the prime Rick or whatever it was. And that was fine. I liked it. I liked what they did with it. It's interesting that they sort of gave Rick an ending.
Closure.
And then had to carry on with life.
Yeah.
I found that really interesting.
Like, there's still evil Morty hanging out. But
yes, who doesn't seem that evil. He just seems like a dude who wants to be left alone.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what he says.
A bit like, I don't see what's evil about this guy.
Yeah, let him.
I feel the same some weekends. Yeah, exactly. Just leave the poor kid alone. The final episode, it's not canon or anything. It's just a good, solid Rick and Morty episode. I just had a lot of fun with it. Yeah. Just back to basics a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Rick and Morty doing Rick and Morty stuff.
I vibe that.
Yeah. The last episode, I would say, is a standout, actually. It's all about fears and like them having to face their own, the things that like keep them up at night. It's kind of good. It's interesting. Yeah, I'd recommend.
Okay.
If anyone hasn't seen Rick and Morty, again, where have you been under a rock? But yeah, it's worth it. The 7th season. I don't think it's lost quality. I think it's interesting without Justin Roiland. I know he did a lot of ad-libbing and stuff during the recordings. So it's just different without him. It's different. It's not bad.
I haven't really noticed it, but I think if I went back and watched like the first 2 seasons, I might.
Yeah.
But because it feels like it's been this way for a while, like where there's less of that and more structured like episodes that are like to the point and story driven, I haven't really noticed.
I'd say I noticed more with Morty. Like that voice, I definitely notice it when it's talking. And it definitely feels like it's not as conversational, if that makes sense. It feels like they are reading lines rather than it being like a dialogue between 2 voices in one dude's head, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but that's all right. You know, like they'll get, like the people they've now got get used to it. And I highly recommend going and checking out season 7. It's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it a lot. Guys, if there's anything that you would recommend us going and talking about, we would love you to. Hit us up at Podcast Assemble on Instagram or thepodcastassemble at gmail.com. We love it when you send us stuff. We'll call you out.
Yeah.
We didn't have any recommendations this week, but we did have one of the friends of the show, Leone, send us an overview of the new movie Wonka, which is that its review at a top level is that it isn't good, but it isn't bad enough to be interesting either. Now, I wasn't going to recommend we talked about Wonka at any point in the podcast.
I'm surprised you're talking about it.
Wow. Like, that's brutal.
Yeah, I guess it's like exactly what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
I liked Timothée Chalamet, though. I thought he might have, you know.
I'm sure if without him, it would be worse.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like an insult to him. I just think, like, how many times are you going to tell this story?
Well, it's
also new.
Prequel,
it's like a prequel.
So, yeah.
I don't. I just don't really care, do I?
Well, that was one of my favorite controversies of the year. Hugh Grant was on a red carpet for something or other, and the interviewer was being all American and like, "Oh my god," and this, and he was just like, "I don't give a shit." Like literally, that was his reaction. She's like, "Oh, let's talk more," and he's like, "No." I'm like, Hugh Grant, he's done with Hollywood.
He's so degaff.
He's gone. Anyway, send us stuff, guys. We love it when you do. DL.
Yeah.
Do you want to preface our main topic for this week?
It's the main topic theme.
This week, as we already talked about, we are doing Die Hard as a Christmas movie special for all
Jingle
of
bells, jingle bells.
you.
We are. It's Die Hard, baby. We finally got here.
We did. It's also a movie that I haven't seen.
Yes, it's
Well,
our
I've seen
festive
bits,
episode
pieces.
and a movie you haven't seen. So it fits over two categories, maybe?
Yeah, the
Two
ones
categories, maybe?
we should have seen but haven't.
Yes.
We'll count it.
Do you have
Finally
a stupid
one
plot
from
summary?
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like one of the most watched films of my life.
Yeah,
Do you have a stupid plot summary, DL?
I do. Barefoot hide and seek. Yippee-ki-yay. It's basically
Nice and simple. I love
Yeah.
it. Mine is just Home Alone, but with significantly less violence towards the bad guys, with way more explosions.
True. It is very Home Alone-y.
It is so
It's
Home
like,
Alone.
you know, you're stuck in a house with someone. Yeah, it's like kind of the opposite. They're trying to get in. Well, I guess it's Home Alone.
It's Home Alone.
It's Home Alone.
It's Home Alone.
But
Before Home
the
Alone
bad guys
was
are
Home
already
Alone.
in the house.
Yes. Well, they are in Home Alone, kind of, as well.
Eventually.
For most of it.
Yeah.
I bloody love Home Alone. We should talk about that at some point. What is your favorite Christmas movie? I'm not sure if we've talked about this in the podcast.
I would say
before.
Home Alone's up there.
Yeah, I
A
think
Christmas Story.
we definitely talked about this because I have an opinion on this. I think Home Alone 2 is better than 1.
It's not a bad opinion.
It's
not
my
a bad
opinion.
opinion.
Spicy.
I don't even think it's that spicy. Both those movies are really
And
good.
fight in the comments.
Yeah, I agree. Like they're both. You could make that argument. It's set in Chicago,
New York.
New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one's set in LA. Well, anyway, this is from director John McTiernan, who you would know from some of my favorite movies growing up, including this, obviously, The Last Action Hero. Did you ever watch Last Action Hero?
I think you told me that. Isn't that Martin? Isn't that
such a good
Arnold
movie.
Schwarzenegger?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like a real interesting like
You
take
told me
on
to.
take on it. So like Arnold Schwarzenegger is literally a movie star in it, and he comes to the real world and he's finding out that the things he does in the real world actually have consequences and stuff. It's really great movie. Real good twist on the genre. He did Predator. He did my actual favorite Die Hard movie, which is Die Hard with a Vengeance, The Hunt for Red October. And I was thinking to myself when I was reading this list of like movies, I was like, this guy was a pioneer.
Good. No, he was definitely.
Where did he go? So I actually did a bit of research in the background, and apparently in 2006, he pled guilty to making false statements to the FBI during an investigation into wiretapping of a movie producer. So he was sentenced to 4 months in federal prison, and he's never been able to get back into Hollywood since.
because of that?
Yeah, how mad is that?
That's so random.
Like, what? He was wiretapping a producer. So,
why?
like,
Something happened.
great question.
There's some more to that.
There's got to be more to this story.
Yeah.
If anyone knows, at Podcast Assemble on Instagram or thepodcastassemble@gmail.com, let us know. But this is such a great cast. Bruce Willis, top of his game as John McClain.
Can't beat it.
Alan Rickman as
Alan
Hans
I can't
Gruber.
believe I didn't
How did
realize
you know
Hans was
that?
Alan Rickman.
Reginald Vell Johnson as Sergeant Al Powell is great in this. I wanted to also call out Paul Gleason, who is the police captain, Dwayne T. Robinson, who's also from Breakfast Club, you'd know him from. Like, it's such a fun cast. Everyone's great, even like the background guys, you know,
No, it is.
the terrorists. It's just a real, like, great collaboration of people sort of in a good place in their careers, I would say.
I think also it's just like the end of the 80s.
Yes.
But like in a good way.
So end of
Like,
the 80s.
yeah.
I'm with you on that 100%. What kind of goes down in the plot then, DL? Talk me through this.
Basically, we got a New York cop going on holiday vacation to California to meet up with his separated
Estranged
wife?
wife?
Estranged wife, I'd say.
Hmm.
They're estranged because obviously we learn
They're
she's
strange. We're strange. Come on,
We're
we're
all
all a bit strange.
They're estranged because he's basically having trouble with the decision that she's made to prioritize her career.
Yes.
And we're visiting her her work
Kinda.
party, her work party.
In the Nakatomi Plaza.
Yeah, in the Nakatomi Plaza, very shishi affair. There's tuxedos and
I think-
violins.
I think the story is that he was sent an invitation by accident, which I really appreciate.
Oh,
for
is
this.
that
He's
actually
there-
the story?
Yeah, I think so. He's there
Yeah.
by accident. I really like that. But, you know, we don't need to tell people what happens in Die Hard. It's
No,
fucking
you
Die
know,
Hard.
you should know at least.
We should talk about Is this a Christmas movie or not, DL?
I mean,
definitively,
I don't
from the
think
mouth
how
of the horse.
How could it not be?
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, like it starts out, they talk about Christmas consistently.
It is.
They talk about it. What are you doing for
set
Christmas?
at
It's a Christmas party. There's like
Yeah.
multiple kind of Christmas songs, not
Themes.
like within the soundtrack.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's not like there's about a middle part where it doesn't come up at all, and it's a pure action movie. But at the end and the beginning, it is very much all about Christmas, and the
100%.
themes are about family style themes.
Absolutely.
So I'd argue.
And I would also say, go away, as I mentioned, to our YouTube channel and check out our latest video on Die Hard is a Christmas movie. It just is. Like, you can say what you want. It's got all the themes of a Christmas movie. It's like all the through lines. It's set at freaking Christmas. I don't care what you say, Bruce Willis. This is a Christmas movie.
So he said it's not. Why did he say it's not?
Because he's just an angry man. But Bruce Willis, like he's in a bad place now. So I hope he's okay. But this is such like a time pull for me. Like, could you imagine getting on an airplane and a dude having a gun like in 2023? Could you imagine that?
No.
Like smoking indoors, all these things. I'm just like, holy shit, this stuff just
even
can't
just like a
happen anymore.
badass action hero smoking is rare these days.
100%. Because you can't smoke on screen if you're that anymore, basically.
Yeah.
Unless you're in like a Tarantino movie, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you can. You just probably cost extra. Something like that.
Yeah. All the insurance that has to go around.
And just like all the like 80s like tropes as well with like the guns, the way they sound, the way they look. The terrorist guys are all just German and classic 80s villains.
I'm surprised they're not Russians, actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say German was kind of weird.
Yeah, it's interesting
in that way.
Maybe
Eastern European.
Maybe it was the accent they could do. Maybe
Eastern
that was
European seems fair. Could he do it? Alan Rickman, was his German accent good?
Oh,
I couldn't really tell.
I'll tell you what was worse.
I don't know a good German accent.
I'll tell you what was worse when he was trying to do his American accent halfway through.
And he was like, oh.
Yeah. I'm not with them. You're like, that's not what you think it is, Alan. Alan. He goes full like hick in it. He's like full like South Carolina.
He's like,
dude.
No, he doesn't. He would be like, what is the like,
oh Frank, God, you're one of them.
Yeah. What is it? It's like Frank. What is it? Frank. What's it called from that Netflix show? The Peach. Fucking the president. Frank Underwood.
Oh right, sorry.
Like,
from House of Cards.
I do declare.
Yeah. He's like
a Georgia Peach.
He's like the chicken lawyer from Family Guy.
Knock.
Anyway. We're making fun of this, but you literally can't look past like the cultural impact this movie had. Like in general, I'm talking about Bruce Willis for a reason because literally until this point, action movie stars were just getting bigger, more muscular, more steroided up. And it was sort of like, you've seen Commando, you've seen, all those
Predator,
types
all the
of
ones
movies.
That this guy made.
Literally Predator. And it's so interesting that this changed direction on that so much. Like this introduced the everyman action star. And I love Willis in this. Like
he is pretty like ripped in the sense that like he's not shredded. He's just like
he's athletic.
He's athletic, but he's toned. Like he's not a lot of body fat.
He's not like Arnold Schwarzenegger going to pop your head with his bicep.
Yeah.
He's just a normal looking dude.
Yeah.
Like I could imagine him being a New York cop. You know what I mean? Like I could imagine that. He's got the receding hairline. He's just a dude, and
pulls
I love
off the
that.
receding hairline well.
Yes.
I would say.
Also pulls off a shaved head pretty well.
Yeah.
Do you reckon?
Over time. Yeah.
I'd say later on he pulls off a shaved head well. It's one of those movies for me that really like. I know this isn't exactly blowing anyone's mind with spice opinions, but it just like the whole Nakatomi Plaza thing set in one spot the whole time. Really compelling, different villain. Again, not just like a cackling idiot, someone who's like intelligent, has like a well thought out plan, is ready for almost any scenario. Like it's just so interesting and so well done.
Yeah. What is their end goal? Why? Like we thought it was like there was some crazy terrorist group, but really he just wants money.
They're trying to steal the barabons from the building. So
why did they want all the people released?
They didn't want the people released.
That was a distraction.
It's a distraction. So what the goal was? We'll talk about this when we're talking to the movie in a moment. They were sending all of the hostages up to the roof, expecting that the police would try and take them out while they were on the roof in the helicopters. And they'd rig the whole roof with explosives to blow up. So like that's one of the big action scenes.
No, I remember that.
They blow
I
it up
really
anyway.
Understand the strategy behind
the strategy was right. They blow up the building effectively, or the most part of the building, so the police think that they're dead and they just escape in an ambulance. That's how they were going to get away with it.
Now, second follow-up question: why did the limo mate, what was his name?
Old mate, I forgot his name, but just sit there. Argyle.
Why did Argyle? No, not even just sit there. Fair enough. Like he's just having the best time. You know, he's listening to
getting
good
paid.
music.
That's why he's sitting there.
Was he getting paid?
Yeah, he was getting paid by the hour. I don't know. Probably.
Because he's not driving. He's a limo driver. I think he get paid when
he was waiting for Willis to come back at the end.
He was deciding if he would.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Semantics. Why did he just theoretically just punch a paramedic? Like, you know what I mean? He had no context as to what was happening.
He saw it come out of the. Oh no, he had the radio. I think at one point he was talking to Bruce Willis.
No, that's the cop. I think he was just hanging out down there the whole movie. He sees a paramedic. He's like, this guy's fishy.
He's like,
just
a black paramedic
right into
in 1988
and fucking knocks him out. It's like, dude, if that was actually a paramedic, you'd be in jail. Like, why is that your reaction?
No one's seen a black paramedic in 1988, and that's the problem.
I guess that's what.
Effectively, what happens is the movie kicks off. We see John McClain arriving in Los Angeles.
What a
as
name.
DL said. Great, really good name. He's accidentally been invited to this party. He goes. He's trying to effectively make things up with his wife, and terrorists arrive. Right, Hans Gruber. A whole bunch of it's 640 million in bearer bonds, which doesn't sound that much these days. That would probably get you about 3 weeks in New York City. But like the setup of this, I just really like.
Mm-hmm.
It's simple, but yet so effective when the characters start building, like the dynamics between the different people. Bruce Willis is thinking maybe his wife is hooking up with this coked up idiot. Like, you know what I mean? The people that have taken her away from him. He's just trying to decompress and doesn't know how to express emotions because it's the 80s.
And he's a man character.
Exactly. Exactly. I really like this. The setup of it's great. Like the world they initially build, it's very LA and it's really interesting.
Totally. It is LA. Is this a famous building in LA?
I
should know.
We might get to that in trivia if you're.
I don't remember.
We'll come back to that in trivia, true or false.
Century City is a very famous like area for all the big buildings. So I know where it is. I just don't know if this is particularly famous.
It's a cool building. Like the Nakatomi Plaza itself, it's it's splattered on t-shirts. It's everywhere. I think there's a podcast called it's like the Nakatomi Break Room or something.
The place looked nice.
Yeah.
Until they had their way with it.
Until it got fucked up.
Yeah.
I think like the cinematography of this progresses really interestingly because you see at the beginning, it feels almost a bit too 80s. The way it's, you get the shot of the airplane coming down. It's that sort of almost neon orange of the sunset as it touches down. And then it gradually progresses to being like in the building and it's very stark differences. But the way it's shot is really beautiful, especially when he's like on top of the building and you get the shots of the surrounding area too.
Yeah.
And you see bodies falling out of the building. I really like what they're doing with this.
Dude, how about the guy that's like, the stewardess that Bruce Willis just like gives the eye to? I was like, that's so random. What was going on there?
He eye fucks the shit out of so many people in this movie. Like the really young chick who with the blonde hair runs past him in the airport and he's like, damn. It's
like multiple times. I'm like, this guy is ready to be divorced.
100%, right? 100%. And if you watch any of the other Die Hard films, you'll probably find out there's a reason for that.
Okay. So it's just within character.
It really is.
Okay.
The fun thing I find about this is that it's set up a lot of the tropes we now take for granted in a lot of big budget action movies. Did you feel that when you were watching through?
I did. I also felt like it looked good though.
Yeah, definitely.
Like it wasn't like overdone or underdone. There's only one part where when the helicopter was falling down.
Yes.
And exploding. It didn't look terrible. It just didn't look.
Felt like miniatures.
I couldn't tell if it was bad CGI or miniatures, but it wouldn't have been CGI yet.
I think a lot of the explosions were real explosions in this. So I'm not sure about the helicopter specifically. But
that part looked specifically weird.
Right. But I mean, you probably couldn't just blow up a building in the center of LA, to be quite frank with you. But obviously the story progresses and McClain effectively gets separated in the building and he's in the vents, man. He's a guy fucking it all up for Hans, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's making it a living nightmare. The thing I most like about this is the fact that Hans doesn't realize that Holly McClain, is John's wife. And she's kind of, he murders the head of the company straight away.
I thought that was crazy.
Brutal, right?
Maybe just like give him another chance.
Nah.
Because he might be able to actually just get you the money and save the whole save the whole issue. Like they did it the hard way.
But that's part of the plan. They want the police to come there. They want the FBI to come there. So they need the FBI.
But it was kind of like a revisionist plan. It felt like.
I don't know, but it comes all the way through. They need the FBI to come, so they cut the power to the building so they can get into the last part of the vault. They can only get in if the power is not on in that part of the vault. What they want is a big ruckus. They want everyone to think they're dead at the end because the building explodes, and then they just sail off into the sunset. Why would you go looking? They say it in the movie. Why would you go looking for someone who's dead? You know what I mean? It's great. It's a great plan.
No, I remember that at the end. You still have to like find their bodies.
It's a great plan. But that shot of Willis in the vents is like iconic.
It's iconic for sure.
So many iconic scenes. This where he jumps off the building with the hose. Like the whole thing, man. It's great. The ho 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 on the jumper. What did you think of that when he starts like?
I thought that was the
off?
best. I thought that was the best. It was really funny, and how he just like fucking with the guys after he kills his brother.
It's so, and he's brutal to that guy.
Yeah. I mean, that guy has a pretty gnarly death, multiple deaths.
Comes back for a bit at the end, just hanging out. Look, I think in terms of performances, I've sort of already talked about Bruce Willis, but talk me through Alan Rickman. He was so good you didn't realize it was Alan Rickman. I thought he was actually Hans Gruber.
I just thought he was some German guy. But now that you say it, the voice is obvious.
Yes.
It's obvious. But like and I kept seeing him being like, who is this guy? Like I did think that, but I never looked it up, to be honest. I was working while I did this. Because I'd seen this movie partially. I thought I could do it. Obviously not, because I didn't really understand their plan.
Well, we talked about it. I mean, this is Alan Rickman's first Hollywood job.
Great.
I find that fascinating. Great. He was well-known in TV and theatre in the UK.
In that case, I could see why he was good. Yeah.
Theatre actors. I mean, but it doesn't always work, man. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't always go that way. And there's just so many good scenes between the two of them. So, for example, the scene where Rickman and Willis meet for the first time, the one we were joking about where he pretends is one of the hostages, apparently that was unrehearsed because they wanted big like spontaneity between the actors and it to feel realistic.
Okay.
I really like that.
Yeah,
little things like that. That's a sign of like a really good director who probably went to prison for a long time.
Yeah.
Another standout favorite for this.
What was he fucking wiretapping for?
I don't know. We need to work
I need to know.
We will Google it before the end of the podcast. Another standout for me is Reginald Vell Johnson for this. So that's the Sergeant Al Powell, who's outside with the radio. I love it. He refuses to cooperate. Willis refuses to cooperate with anyone else. Such an interesting character.
Yeah. No, he is good. Like that, the dichotomy between him and Bruce Willis is really fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Really fun.
And he's obviously, he doesn't want to be in the field because he accidentally murdered a kid. You find that about him as it's going through. He's doing this he doesn't want to be there. It's like his last job before Christmas.
Yeah.
Great.
Very phone booth.
Yeah.
Like it reminded me of phone booth, their little calls for some reason. I like that dynamic of like him being inside. It would like put a whole like another like lens on an action movie,
Definitely.
like a cop action movie. Yeah.
Definitely. And you get so much background on these characters without having too much dialogue, just telling you about them. It's through their back and forth, the camaraderie they build as like this sort of, I don't know, almost Munchausen syndrome guy stuck in a building. It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
I really like how fleshed out the characters feel at any one time.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. And just how bad the police, the LAPD, like.
Oh my God. So useless.
So useless.
Even like his boss.
I hope that's not the way it actually is.
Probably. But then the FBI rock up and they're even worse.
That makes sense.
They're just gung-ho idiots.
That makes sense to me. That adds up.
Really?
Yeah. The FBI is like useless, dude. The FBI is like...
Man, we watch Killers of the Flower Moon. We know they're not that bad.
Oh, I mean, well, in that movie, they were good.
Yeah, they helped.
They just were a bit late.
Very late. Many women die screaming.
Perhaps earlier. So I could have been a little bit less depressed.
Mate, the cat and mouse between McClain and Gruber through this, as McClain's picking off, like different versions of his henchmen. They all seem like the same one, but they're not.
They all do seem like just a bit different.
All the quippiness.
All German.
But they are all different. I love that. You've got the tech guy. You've got the Dolph Lundgren wannabe.
So many tropes.
There's so many tropes. I love that about this. It's almost like he's built the Ocean's 11 team to take to, you know what I mean? I want to see the getting the group together version of this where it's Alan Rickman just going around and being like
being Alan Rickman.
You son of a bitch, I'm in. It's like, I want to see that. That's what I want to see. It's so good and so interesting. But so like the way he's picking them off, I really like. So he's in the vent, he's in the elevator shaft. He's just using everything at his disposal to keep, Gruber in the dark on where he is. He's obviously got the walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
And he can hear what Rickman's telling, like the police and back and forth.
That's the interesting part, that they're all like on the
Connected.
same line. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
And they can't like communicate without everybody basically knowing.
I think my enthusiasm for this is overpowering yours quite a lot.
No, I'm very down for it. I'm all in with Die Hard. I think it's just not much to analyze beyond, like, it's a really well constructed 80s trope movie that doesn't feel tropey in a bad way. It feels like in a good way.
Yeah, agreed.
Does that make sense?
No, I agree. I think it probably set up a lot of the tropes we now see done to death. And I think the thing that really stands out within that is that, yes, it's a little tropey, but it's so well paced. You never feel like that. You never feel like, oh, they're just now going to do this next, or this is the next thing they're going to do. It gradually unfolds, and like the media in the background trying to find out where his kids are, and then that unfolding, and Gruber finding out that Holly and McClain are actually married, and then taking a hostage is so well done. And it
has a lot of novel things that
yes.
keep you intrigued or on your toes, or that are just really well thought out. Like the fact that the names are different, right? And that's also ties to part of why they have an issue.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of a nice little bow. There's a lot of those little bows.
Yeah. And there's a lot of little nitpicks with all these things in the film where you're like, why is she changing her name? And then it makes sense why she's doing that later on. And I really like some of the minutiae of this film. Like you say, that it's not a grandioso movie that you can pick to pieces and talk about all the different interweaving themes and tones and these big aspirational different ways of looking at cinema, but it's just a really well constructed great action movie with a lot of heart.
It is. And I think I don't think that I'm curious what the sequels are like.
Oh, you've never seen the sequels?
I barely saw this one. I'm sure I've seen bits of them.
Yeah, right.
Just because it's I don't know how you recreate something like this, because it is kind of it's such a good idea. Have the cop inside saving people. The cops are stuck outside in a hostage situation. It's pretty novel. So
the second one is very similar, as in it's set in an airport with really similar through line to it.
Basically just the exact same movie.
Yeah,
in an airport.
it's classic 80s, 90s, just remake the
Run
thing
it back,
again.
Home Alone 2.
Whereas Die Hard with a Vengeance, the third one, which is actually my favorite, it's set all across, I think it's New York, and he meets up with Samuel L. Jackson, who's really, really good in it. And it actually gets a lot of flack, that film, but so effectively the third one is Hans Gruber's brother. It's really good. It's played by Jeremy Irons. He's really good in it. And so,
I love that it's his brother.
Yeah,
they're both criminals.
Of course, they had to be. And what he's doing is he is sending basically Bruce Willis on this wild goose chase, using him as not only to get back at him for the death of his brother, but also as a way of distracting the rest of the police.
Yeah,
he's giving him these weird little jobs and being like, I'm going to blow up a school and I'm going to do this, and all around the city, and they have to work out all these weird little trials while he's in the background, as Hans Gruber was in this one, trying to exact his own plan while distracting everyone. It's really, really well done. Taking it from a small setting to a much broader setting. Really hard to do, but done really well. We should definitely do that at one point.
All right, add it to the list.
Not a Christmas movie though. Not a Christmas movie.
Well, this one barely counts apparently, so I can't imagine.
It's got a Christmas song at the end. It's definitely a Christmas movie. What do you think about the action from Die Hard? It's quite brutal.
Yeah, it's bloody.
Yeah,
very. I was I noticed that.
Yes,
shooting people in the nuts.
Yeah. Dude's head falling through a window.
Yeah,
the guy getting thrown out of a window.
Yeah,
man, it's brutal.
I mean, it is pretty. I mean, they don't make them like that
No,
anymore.
they don't. I miss that.
Not big budget, get a lot of people in seats action movies.
No,
they're not as brutal.
So brutal, and I think we miss a bit of that in cinema these days.
For sure,
I would say.
I wish this was a video game.
Oh, that'd be great. A proper video game.
Yeah, a proper single player game, level by level.
This would be perfect for
or
you.
an open, or it's one of those ones. Do you ever play the zombie game that Capcom made that's not Resident Evil? Where it's set in a mall.
Oh yeah,
Dead Rising.
Yeah,
where it's you can just certain things are time bound, and the game is built to be played multiple times through.
Right.
Because you can only do something. You can only make one choice, and if you go to this part of the mall at the start, you're going to miss all these other side stories, and it gives you a different ending, kind of thing.
That's interesting.
So you could do something like that, where it's which floor are you going to tackle first? So you're gonna, it'd be interesting.
Imagine if you mixed that with some of the survival horror element or just survival elements of like
Just like Last of Us style stealth.
Yeah,
It'd be fun.
and just you only have a certain amount of bullets. You've got to like stealth around. That'd be so good.
That'd be super
How
fun.
has no one thought of that?
Maybe they have, and it's just on the Super Nintendo because it's so old.
Oh, we didn't talk about the Insomniac leak.
Oh, what's that? I don't even know.
Insomniac.
Oh,
got
the
hacked.
werewolf or the
Wolverine stuff.
Wolverine one.
Insomniac got hacked, but there's so much information out there. They're building up to like a full X-Men game. It's really interesting. I'm trying to stay away from it a little bit.
Not well. You
Not well.
More
I know,
than
but
I did.
friend of the show, Ollie, knows way too much about this, and he keeps sharing it with me, and I keep trying to avoid it. But
Because they've already proven themselves out with Spider-Man.
that's what I'm saying. That's what they've said effectively. They're a bit like, you go do this.
Like did Marvel just give them everything?
My point is, I reckon that they were, if that was coming from those guys, we would have known about it. Because Rockstar got hacked. They got hacked. They're like two of the biggest.
Yeah.
And they also, within that leak, said that for the first time, Sony is genuinely concerned about Xbox since they bought Activision Blizzard. I find that interesting. But then they spent so much on it, they would have to surely put the games on PlayStation eventually as well. Surely.
I think the bigger threat is just that like Game Pass becomes something that is like Netflix, and Sony's selling DVDs. That's the biggest threat.
Interesting.
I like if you really think about like how we just got way off topic, team.
It's fun,
but if you really think about like the streaming wars, right? Who won? To your point,
well, we talked about this the other day.
Yeah, YouTube won. But
keep talking.
I'm realizing that actually goes against my argument. Wah, wah, wah. But like, my point is like that would be the risk. Like they're Netflix. They're like Netflixing gaming. And everybody else is too slow to catch up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I still think a Die Hard game with those parameters we talked about would be phenomenal.
Add it to Game Pass. Maybe I'll play.
Add it to Game Pass. Do it. Yeah.
You think people would buy that? I mean, I would.
Well, the Die Hard game.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that hard to make either.
No, you just
put it out for like $30.
Take Alien Isolation. Take all of that. Add some of the Last of Us elements of the crouchingness, and then just put it in a fucking mall or whatever.
And give me a sub. What is that gun? MP5.
Yeah, of course.
I need an MP5 because.
But you only have 5 bullets.
What 80s movie doesn't have an MP5?
You've got to have an MP5.
It's crazy. They all have MP5s and Berettas. The
guns are so powerful.
They were like the iconic guns of the 80s.
Oh, they sure were.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got way off topic here. This all boils down to a culmination where effectively McClain has 2 bullets left, and he's faced with Hans Gruber and Holly, and he only has one opportunity to win, and he shoots Hans Gruber and he falls out the window. Now, great piece of trivia about that before we get to trivia true or false.
Hope that guy's not a hostage.
Yeah, there's a great scene in that where Alan Rickman does a very short fall down onto a landing mat. It's obviously all green screened at the bottom.
But you mean he doesn't die?
Not in real life, thank God, because he's a great...
Yeah.
Alan Rickman is a great actor. He is dead, unfortunately, now, though.
That was in bad taste.
It was, wasn't it?
Sorry.
But, so, the director says to Alan Rickman, Alan, I'm going to count you down for 3, 3, 2, 1, and then you're going to fall. And he goes, 3, 2, and drops him on 2. So the look of shock...
He was quite fair. It did look real.
It's a real look of shock on his face.
Yeah.
So I love that. And apparently he refused to work with that director again. Not that he had many opportunities because he went to prison.
Really?
But it was like one of those things where it's like, fuck this guy.
Because of that?
I mean, it's pretty scary when you fall like a long way. And
how long was it?
I don't know.
The
a
actual
long way.
film,
it looks amazing.
He's like at least on the 50th floor.
Yeah.
He
threw him off the 50th floor.
Like a long way.
And if you remember as well, though, it's the 80s. They probably didn't have the proper precautions. It probably wasn't that well set up.
Yeah, I'd be worried.
Remember when we talked about Gladiators and they were just doing it on like a concrete floor? Yeah, it's that. Brilliant. Do you have any tones or themes for this then, DL? As they ride off into the sunset.
I think what is the end all? He basically apologizes. So it's got to be
redemption.
Something. It's redemption. It's also got to be like self-awareness, maybe. Well, what leads him to appreciate what he had? It's like a holiday theme of like appreciate.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, something like that.
Of the Christmas movie themes.
Yeah.
It has everything. It's got redemption. It's got families getting back together. Oh, it's just it's all about love. Oh, it's great. It's just a shame he doesn't follow through with that in the next ones. What we do now is we tend to do 3 best and 3 worst. That's 3 reasons you might want to watch this movie and 3 reasons why you might not. We are going to skip worst because there is nothing bad about this movie. But what are your 3 best from this, DL?
Bruce Willis and as he slowly loses clothes.
Yes.
and gets bloodier and looks more and more insane.
Yes.
Like he just
Love
looks
it.
like a homeless insane person.
He
by the
does.
end.
I'm not surprised the FBI tried to shoot him.
Yeah, what a debut, right? Classic 80s movies vibes, just like all the tropes.
I have
Gotta
that.
love
The
it.
80s-ness.
And great premise for a Christmas movie.
Yes. Great premise for a movie, let alone a Christmas movie.
Yeah, how about you, man?
I just had Hans Bubby. No, the
Bubby?
the quotableness of this.
We haven't even talked about that guy.
He's great. The
Yeah,
coked up
he's
dude.
a good. He like steals the show, kind
A little bit, and then gets shot in the head.
Yeah,
He's great. But that's what I mean about all the surrounding cast. Like everyone feels fleshed out. Like you've met that guy. Like
He's an
in real life.
Yeah.
You know that guy who's at a Christmas party who thinks he could break up a terrorist attack
Yes.
because he's done 4 lines in the bathroom. Like there is always that person within like an office building.
Did you
Everyone there, the woman who's constantly pregnant, she's there. You know what I
see,
mean?
constantly pregnant. Did you see the Corbett Bro skit?
No, which one?
More about the Christmas party. It's exactly that.
Oh, is
scene.
that okay?
He comes like it's like the corporate family, like the CEO, the
Brilliant.
agent. You know how he does those renditions, and then it's just like a new character, and it's like the intern, and he comes out and it's just like, and he's just like,
Covered in it.
I have some great ideas for the CEO. It's just like, it's great. You gotta watch it.
Brilliant. My last one was the non-traditional action hero. I love they've created like this is a genre-defining movie just for that. I love that. Let's have more of that. I feel like we've gone back to that in like the 2020s, whatever we're in. There's too many steroided up dudes who are the action heroes.
Stop hating on Chris
Kind.
Hemsworth.
Hemsworth,
Yeah, it's Hemsworth. I almost fucked it up.
Pratt.
It's
Which
Hemsworth.
one?
Hemsworth's on steroids.
He's
At least HGH.
definitely, absolutely, definitely. Well, then what we do now is we do a little bit of critical reception. And if you can guess, DL, first and foremost, what you think the IMDb score is for this.
8.
Oh, it's 8.2. You were very close. I think that's a pretty good representation from IMDb. Pretty standard, I
It's
think.
actually higher than I thought it would be, but it's a classic, so I get it.
It is a classic. Rotten Tomatoes, thoughts, percentage?
Oh, God. These older ones, how do you know? Was Rotten Tomatoes even out?
Yes.
85.
94.
Rotten Tomatoes
That's
is...
mad.
Rotten Tomatoes is too easy. It's either like way high. I need to be better.
I feel like it's just like, it's polarizing.
It's way high or it's like below 60.
It's madness.
Yeah.
And finally, Letterboxd, my current favorite, which is it's an all user based score, no critics involved, and it's always 3.7. So what is it this week, dear?
4.
It's 4.1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew
Bang
it.
on the money.
I had a feeling.
Yeah. If it's 94 on Rotten Tomatoes, you'd think
Yeah.
users like it.
No,
enough.
usually, dude, it does not. Rotten Tomatoes could be like 95, then the other users 3.7,
Yeah. Well,
3.5. I don't know why.
it all comes down to our classic rating system,
Yeah.
which is whether this movie is better or worse than the most average movie we know, which as of right now is Aquaman 2018. DL, it's better or worse than Aquaman 2018?
It is much better, much better than Aquaman 2018, and I'll leave it at that because we'll never see Aquaman 2023. So
You will see it in the next 3 weeks. I'm going to say it's worse than Aquaman 2018 because it doesn't have enough Mark Wahlberg.
Yes, he is a blubberfish in that.
Could you imagine Mark Wahlberg in this?
as a what do they
Which do you
call?
reckon he would be?
Oh, in this,
Yeah, who do you reckon would be in this?
he'd have to be one of the like
Office workers.
one of the
surely.
hostages. Like, guys, what's going on? We got to get out of here, guys.
I need help. He sure would be. That's so
They're
good.
shooting people upstairs.
Oh my God. All right. I think it's better, of course it is.
Yeah.
Just for all the things talked about, it's one of my all-time favorites. I watch this every Christmas. I watch this and I watch Love Actually every year. I couldn't get more polar opposite in terms of movies, but I bloody love it. I just love it. I think it's so good. For me, it's like up there with the ultimate Christmas movies.
Nice.
Do you want some true or false trivia to wrap up the show?
You know I do.
Brilliant. So, the fictional Nakatomi Plaza is actually the headquarters for 20th Century Studios. Is that true or is that false?
Sounds true.
It is true. The studio used one of its own buildings, so they didn't have to hold back on the stunts and action sequences, effectively allowing them to use bigger explosions within the script. But they did have to shoot scenes where they were shooting guns at night, so they didn't disturb the neighbors. I find that brilliant.
The neighbors.
So dumb.
Century City's like it's like
Massive.
a concrete jungle.
Yeah.
I can't believe that. Yeah.
All right. True or false, DL? The scene where McClain falls down the shaft was actually a mistake by the stuntman. So when he's in the, I think he's in the
part? He does
elevator shaft and he jumps down.
and he catches it.
He jumps down trying to catch the first one
Yeah. It's a mistake.
by the stuntman.
Feels like that is False.
Actually true. He was supposed to just jump down one and grab the first vent, but he missed and slipped and continued to fall and managed to grab one further down. But it looked so good that they actually just used it in the final edit.
But
I think that's great.
surely that's not an actual elevator shaft.
I think he was wired up effectively
Yeah,
and jumped down to go down a few levels.
It did look good. It
Yeah.
also looked like it would hurt.
Yeah. Did it not?
Yeah,
Stuntmen, man, they deserve
they do.
all the praise. Finally,
They
then,
do.
true or false? Alan Rickman nearly passed on the role of Hans Gruber. Is that true or is that false?
Sounds like a theater kid thing to do. True.
It's true.
Yeah.
It obviously, as I mentioned, ended up being his first role in Hollywood. He had only arrived in Hollywood 2 days earlier and was appalled by the idea of his first acting role being a villain because he thought he would get typecasted. So interesting. So many weird niche facts about this film. I absolutely love it. But thank you for sticking with it. And thank you, DL,
Yeah.
for indulging me in talking about Die Hard.
Finally watched
Me
Die
just
Hard.
gushing over it, I think.
You watch it every year, don't you?
every year.
Yeah, he's weird. He really likes it. No, I would put it on in the background for sure.
It's a great background
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Great Christmas movie.
I started watching this early this morning because I got up at like, I don't know, 6:30. I couldn't sleep and I wasn't going to the office and I had a bunch of meetings. So I was like, all right, I can get like an hour of this in now.
Yeah.
And just like the machine gun fire, Gail's like, turn it down.
She's far away as well. You must have it on loud.
I don't think it was that loud, but it was like the machine gun fire is so much louder than the dialogue.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
they didn't
yeah.
do the mastering right or something.
Bloody
Because
hell, they
anytime there's a
never do
gun
that.
scene, it's like it goes up. Like
Did Chris
20%.
Nolan make this?
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't tell you.
Guys, we want to say thank you so much for an amazing year. If anyone who stuck with it this far, just this episode, we appreciate you. We appreciate you all. We are having a little break. We're going to come back mid-January when DL has finally seen Aquaman 2023, so we can rate it against our famous rating system. Thank you so much. Thank you for all of the correspondence. Thank you for sending us dumb memes. We appreciate you all.
We really
DL, do you want to wrap up our final episode of the year?
We really do. Happy holidays, everybody, and happy holidays to you, Mr. Matthew Bliss,
holidays.
for editing and mastering this week's episode. If you'd like to hire someone to edit your podcast, maybe wait till after Christmas. This guy needs a break, right? Head to MatthewBliss.net and book a consultation today. If you want to hear his work, From My Home to Yours is an expat repat podcast where Matt and his wife share their experiences and advice for others moving from Ireland to Australia, or vice versa, from Australia to Ireland, I should say.
Or moving anywhere.
But really, it's applicable.
Yeah.
You know, fish out
It's all good
fish
advice.
out of water.
Yeah, exactly.
Go into a new pond.
Just like Bruce Willis in LA.
Yeah, he was as a New York
He was
City
really a
beat
fish
cop.
out. Yeah.
All right, man. Until next time, thank you, everybody. Tally ho!
Tally ho, baby! Latest game.